Hello, and welcome to the Battleship Brawl Companion. I'm Evil for Zergan, and this episode I'll be reviewing the Failship by localm. Let's get right down to it. I've got the engine split up here. We're making about 15 meters per second, which is right around average for this tournament. Making a turn here, yaw rate is about 4.5, 4 degrees per second. Again, fairly close to the average for this tournament. Let's see, all the rudders are in the back, I believe. We've got a 9 here, and a healthy number of propellers. They are placed rather low, but I guess the torque isn't quite enough to produce a significant upslope. Pitch is just 1 degree. That's about it for propulsion. Let's look at the protection. Protection is pretty typical. We've got 2 layers of metal on the sides with looks like some extra stone near the outside and another layer of metal. The turrets themselves, as well as many of the other components, are protected by another layer of metal. The deck is wood, so quite a bit thinner than the side protection. So overall, a pretty decent amount of armor. It does only have a single AI, which could be a risk, although it is encased in heavy armor. The bottom, though, is wood, so in theory, if a shell happens to land just right, it could take out the AI from below. The magazine's back here with its own layer of metal also. Actually, 3 magazines. Some of them have heavy armor, but the center one does not. Probably relying on the other things to block shots first. We've got many compartments divided by wood. There's a decent amount of wood on this ship, so I doubt it will be easily sunk per se. So overall, a pretty decent job on durability. The weapons. We've got just 8 guns. That's a bit on the light side for this tournament. There's definitely much worse armed ships. The guns themselves are pretty efficiently built. If we look inside here, we have the very familiar conventional 7 diameter pattern with this sort of X of 4 connected boxes in the center. Now I would recommend that you put the explosive boxes near the center, since they are the more expensive ones. That way you can either get more explosive out of the same number of boxes or use fewer boxes for the same amount of explosive power. The guns are tend to be weighted more towards the hardening boxes than the explosive boxes. I tend to favor more explosive than hardening, since after a point more AP is usually wasted. The bottom guns have a pretty good amount of provisioning. The top guns are perhaps somewhat over provisioned with about 250 materials each. But otherwise, quite well constructed guns. Unfortunately, with only 4 turrets and the guns being as large as they are, and from the depths, questionable explosive propagation rules, these guns do end up being somewhat easy to disable, as we've seen in many matches so far. Not just from this ship, but from many others. In my opinion, the Mirai Shiki was probably the biggest victim of the vulnerability of large turrets. But overall, actually not that poorly constructed a ship in any regard. Oh yeah, one last thing I forgot to mention. There's a strip of heavy armor on the front. I wonder if it's to try to protect the rest of the ship if it gets into a ramming situation. the heavy armor will tend to absorb more impact than many of the other block types. Although, up to a point, more armor class will not help quite as much. But anyways, a decently competently built ship in most regards, actually, and not really a failure as its name would imply. It is down in secondary bracket, but it is still trucking in the tournament as of time of recording. Tomorrow we'll see if it makes it into the next secondary round. Best of luck, localm. I'll see y'all next time.